All right, so we have Barry Bergman here. Barry, of course, words and music. I do the words, you do the music. I'm a talk show host, they say.
That's what I was led to believe.
And they say you're a music publisher. But we're more than that.
Absolutely.
What else are we?
Oh, I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
I give seminars. And I still am a manager.
Yeah, a professional manager.
A professional
That means
manager.
there's money involved.
Yes.
Yes. Well, what is a pro? What's a pro? What does that mean? What's a professional?
A professional manager?
No, person. When someone's a professional person, what are they?
You got me on that one.
They're paid.
Oh, okay.
That means you're paid, because an amateur is someone who does it free.
Not necessarily. I've seen amateurs that have gotten paid for work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are only in the massage parlors. So what happens now when you manage an act? What do? You manage somebody?
Well, it's I guide a career. We try to make the right decisions as to the right things to do to take the act forward.
Yeah.
We try to, we work towards, trying to improve the career and taking the career somewhere from home plate to first base to second base, and hopefully you hit a triple or a home run.
How do you determine who you're going to handle?
How do I determine who I'm going to handle? This has always been based on my love of what somebody has been doing, and whether the chemistry is there, and whether we hear each other speak when we talk, we have to genuinely like one another. We have to be on the same page with the same vision.
So do you go out looking for talent, or does it come
I have
to you?
never really looked for talent. Talent has always come to me through referrals.
How does that happen? Tell me how. What kind of referrals? On the internet?
No, I can go back to the early days when I managed Richie Cordell, and that was back in the early '60s.
That's when I first met you.
Yes.
And Richie Cordell had a record that you were trying to make a hit. You were off of Wall Street, right?
Yes. I had left Wall Street. No, I was still working on Wall Street, looking to get out of Wall Street to go full time. And I found this kid, Richie Cordell. Some people had mentioned him, and I met him. I pulled him out of a bad deal at the time, and we started a little label called Streetcar Records. I figured at the time I came up with the name Streetcar, I figured we'd take the industry for a ride.
Right.
But the industry was riding everybody else. We weren't riding them. And we got some space out of a music publishing firm, Southern Music, gave me an office at the time, and that's where we started Streetcar Records. And they had owned the copyrights in the song, and we had owned the masters. And we made some records. They had a studio. And then I would get in the car and go from New York City to Buffalo all the way up, and then go the other way to Baltimore, Washington, and Virginia all the way up, and try to see if we had a record. And one day with that journey, I went to WKBW in Buffalo, which was a 50,000 watt station, clear channel, and you could hear that station from Buffalo to Brooklyn, New York. And lo and behold, I met you.
Oh yeah.
One of the worst things that's happened in my life. But here we are, 56, 57 years later. But you were very kind to me back then. You decided you were going to help me with that record, and you were on the 7 to midnight slot, if I recall. And you played that record. I got to say, you really played the hell out of that record. You played it once an hour, and I recall that.
That was a lot back then, in those days.
That was terrific.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget one night you yelled, "Here comes Richie Cordell with Raindrops, 40 days and 40 nights." Those were good days.
Yeah, and there was no money involved. We should tell everybody.
No, there was no payola. You were one of the fools in the business who didn't take any payola. Thank God for that.
Well, we did go out and eat.
Yes, we did that.
I think we had chicken wings.
Buffalo chicken wings.
Yeah.
But I do remember you were like a Pied Piper up there at the time. There used to be 200 people at midnight waiting to meet you and see you.
I was owing them money.
Well, that's a good reason for them wanting to see you.
That's how you keep an audience,
Absolutely.
So when you have Richie Cordell, we should tell everybody where Richie went. I already know this part, but I want to you to tell about it. Richie not only was his own artist, then what did he do?
Richie went on. Well, Richie and I parted companies five years after we started to work together, because for me he was very difficult. For someone else he might have been great. He was a great guy and I loved him dearly, but he was difficult.
And you finally quit Wall Street.
Oh yes, I had gotten out of Wall Street.
So you made a decision you're going to be a music guy.
Yes.
And then Richie went on to?
Richie went on to become a producer. He was a great songwriter and producer.
Yeah.
And he went on to do all the Tommy James and the Shondell records.
There you
I think
go.
We're Alone Now, Moni Moni, Mirage. And he went on after that to do Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll, which sold multi-millions. He produced that with Glenn Kolotnik, if I recall. So that was my Richie Cordell days. But we had some interesting stories, because I remember we did a record hop. We were in Erie, Pennsylvania. And we went to the airport, and I forgot my wallet, and I had change in my pocket, and Richie, the artist that he was always broke. We had the plane tickets, and we flew up to Erie, and then we did the hop, and then we're ready to leave there, and it starts, there was a blizzard. It's snowing like all hell. And how are we going to get, and the airport was closed, and how are we getting home? We ended up walking 7-8 miles, I'll never forget this, to the train station in Erie. And Richie said, well, how are we going to do this? I said, well, you're going to go into one bathroom, I'm going into another, and you stay there until we hit New York City. We hit Buffalo, I'll never forget this, we hit Buffalo, and all of a sudden, get out with your hands up. Come out of here with your hands up, the cops are there. This is the police department. Come out with your hands up. And we both come out like this, and they march us off the train.
They thought you were praying.
Yeah, they thought I was praying. Yeah, I was a praying mantis back in those days. And I told them what had happened and everything else. And I said, you got to do me a favor, officer. Hold the train. There may not be another one. And the wind-up was he let us get back on the train, and I agreed to send Amtrak a check when we got back to New York. He had my ID, the information, and I sent him a check when we got home. But that was one of those momentous Richie Cordell.
I didn't know that story. I never heard that. Yeah.
There were plenty of Richie Cordell stories.
So there was a time when you didn't have any money.
Well, I had it, but it was home.
I see.
Not where it needed to be. It needed to be in my wallet in my pocket.
Well, I used to keep my money in a sock. But a midget picked my ankle. Bad jokes.
Bad jokes.
All right, so now when you got Richie off the ground and then he went on, you went to work for Mark's Music? Is that where you went?
Yeah, I went to E.B. Mark's Music.
Yeah. Old company.
It was an old line music publishing company that went back to 1894, run by the Marx family. And
nothing to do with Groucho.
No, neither Harpo or Zeppo, neither one, none of the three. It was they were all Grouchos, the family. There was 9 people that owned this company, and they didn't even like one another, and they didn't even talk half the time. Well, at any rate, they were in the Stone Ages at the time, and
copyrights like what?
Yeah, well, they had copyright. They had all the Billie Holiday stuff. They had Ernesto Lecuona, the South American stuff. They had Seasons in the Sun with Terry Jacks. They had a lot of great stuff of the past, but they wanted to come into the 21st century.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about to happen the way they were doing it. So I decided at the time that we needed to sign singer-songwriters or bands. And as I said earlier, things come to me through referrals. I never really had to chase anything. And there was this fella, Earl Schumann, that used to hang
out
at Mark's Music. He was a successful songwriter back in the day. And he came to me one day and he said, Barry, I saw this kid. You got to see him. He's great. And I said, who? And he said, his name is Meatloaf. I said, Meatloaf? He said, yeah. So I went to see Meatloaf at Carnegie Hall. It was called a salute and a tribute to Reno Sweeney's, which was a club in Greenwich Village at the time. And
he was just one of the singers.
Meatloaf was the act.
Oh, he was?
He was the act. Marvin Lee a day. He was the act. Everything else around him was disposable. Although he had Ellen Foley with him at the time, and he had Rory Dodd and Jim Steinman, naturally the songwriter, his partner and producer. No, he didn't produce the album, but he was his songwriter and partner at the time. And I saw them, and he blew me away. The songs were incredible, and his stage presence was incredible. He had the X factor.
Yeah.
And it was very, very exciting. And I said to myself that night, I got to get him. And Joe Auslander at the time, the president of the company, was there. And I said, Joe, we got to get this. We got to get this. And, Joe was an accountant, the president of the company was an accountant.
He wasn't on the creative side.
No, he wasn't on the creative side. Yeah. He creatively drove me crazy, but that was fine.
Well, tell everybody what he said about the album.
Oh, that was wild,
Tell him.
So, I used to run into him and say, you got to hear this record, it's great. And Joe would say to me, he would shake the album. He'd say, this isn't a great album. I said, Joe, you didn't listen to it. He said, Barry, a check didn't fall out of it. It's not a great album. And I realized that creativity meant nothing to him. It was all about the check.
Yeah.
And I also realized when you work for people, you need to ring the cash register. When you work for yourself, it's a whole different ballgame. So I did my best to ring the cash register.
And you brought us Meatloaf.
Yeah, we signed Meatloaf. We brought out Meatloaf.
Steinman, did you sign him too?
Steinman was the one we signed. He was the songwriter.
Yeah.
But we also did sign Meatloaf just in case he became a songwriter. He was a singer, because a lot of successful acts all of a sudden start to write when they never lifted a pen. They take pieces of songs, unfortunately, which I totally disagree with. So we did that, and then I saw a little video of a band that I really believed in that came from one of our affiliates overseas, and I said, we got to get this. This is great. And it was AC/DC.
Right.
And I didn't think they had the hit at the time, like I thought Meatloaf had the hit, but that live show was incredible. It was second to none. I never saw anything as great as that, short of Led Zeppelin and a couple of other things that were out there. But it was great, and they were a very, very hard-working band, and we got involved with them. And I started to work with them from the minute they came to America and got off the boat, or the plane, so to speak. And they were great. I loved working with them. I remember when they played for 5 people, and then 5 people would become 10 people. 10 would become 20. They were absolutely sensational. They didn't, they were the hardest working band around at the time. And I'll never forget one day when Angus called me up and said to me, after a year or two, he said, Barry, nobody likes our music. Nobody's playing our music. I said, you just do what you're doing because you're great, and the pendulum will swing. You just got to be patient. And it took 4 albums to get them off the ground. This one didn't happen easily or quickly.
It's interesting that Clive Davis was a record executive. He was a lawyer who became a record executive. You're a Wall Street guy who became a music manager and a publisher. I mean, you ran a publishing company somewhat.
Yeah.
So in all of that, you guys have similar paths. You had similar. I mean, you developed talent, but your job wasn't necessarily that. You made it that.
Well, yes, and the big difference was Clive Davis always had huge funding.
Oh yeah.
We didn't operate with that kind of funding. I took things that were nothing and turned them into something, which he also did, but he didn't find the talent. Other people found the talent and brought it to him, and he blessed it, and he'll claim he signed all this stuff.
Why would it be at this time, Sid Bernstein, who brought the Beatles here, say Shea Stadium,
yes.
later on in our story, but if we're following chronology, but Sid's a friend of ours, he passed away a few years back.
He was a friend of ours.
Was a friend, yeah. And Sid was a great promoter,
yeah.
And he did a lot of things, including Central Park concerts and the thing at Radio City Music Hall and Carnegie Hall and Newport Festival after George Wein dropped out, et cetera, et cetera. The point is that Sid Bernstein never really had anybody original like you did. He didn't develop original talent.
No, well, he did have the young,
Well, he had Laura
young
Brown.
Rascals. He had the Young Rascals.
I never asked her, yeah. He did
But,
have that.
he did. Everybody's different. I find the excitement comes through taking something that's nothing and developing it. These others, are in it for the dollars. I don't believe any of us were born to become rich, famous, and powerful. I think if it happens, it's wonderful and great. I think we're all born to evolve as human beings.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in our business will never relate or identify with that. It's all about how much can I make. They look at an artist, they meet somebody, they see an artist or something, they see a dollar bill. I look at an artist and meet an artist or something, I see a human being. And then I'm asking myself, what do they do? Is it right for me? Can I make something happen with this, or am I wasting my time? So, everybody's wired differently. We all see the world differently, and I think it behooves an individual to be who they are and pursue things the way in which it works for them.
You have a good management style, and you're very selective. You don't manage just anybody, and even if they come to you, you will audition them critically. I don't think I've never seen you take anybody on because you thought you were going to make a killing with them.
No, it was never about making a killing.
No, it's not about money.
It was always about things that people I believed in, people that were doing something that I thought was excellent and great, and seeing if I can take it and turn it into something. That's what it was all about. Now I started to wind this all down 2 years ago because I have done it for 40 years, and I decided what I wanted to do was seminars and start teaching. All of these things that I learned and how you make these things happen. Everybody has an album, nobody has a plan. Nobody knows what they're going to do with their album after they have it.
Yeah.
And I get calls regularly, I need a manager to take me to the next level. And I'll ask them invariably, how many streams do you have? Can you sell out clubs in a tri-state area? Have you sold any music? And invariably the answer is no. And I tell them very sincerely and honestly, you have nothing to manage. And they'll say to me, well, how do I know when I'm ready for a manager? And I'll say it's very simple. You don't have to know when you're ready for a manager. You keep doing what you're doing. We're in a DIY world, do it yourself. And if you are doing something and something is taking place, the managers will find you, as they often do. You don't have to go running around looking for a manager. You should put all of that energy into making something happen with your record.
Well, it's changed, however. It used to be where you would make something at home, and then you would have to go to a professional studio and pay a lot of money and have the thing recorded and hope that a major company picks it up. That's not the case anymore.
Well, it's still, it's more or less you develop and break yourself, and then you hope that a major company picks you up.
But now you can do it homegrown. You can do it in your own.
But there is one thing that the major labels control, and that is they control mass media. Nobody can put you on 3 TV shows in the same week when your album is released. Nobody can get you on the covers of the 4 magazines that still exist in the world.
Well, how does that happen? How do you get on those?
Well, they have staffs, and they have the budgets to do these things.
So it requires money.
Today, more so than ever, it requires that for an artist to be successful, especially an independent one, they need financing behind them. It's not what it was a few years back.
It's like politics, the same thing. You have to be part of a party or you can't get elected.
Well, you have to create your own team.
Yeah, and you have also funding.
Yeah, but that's part of your team.
So what can happen without money?
Little to nothing. Unless you get lucky with something, you make some sort of a novelty video or something, and you put it on YouTube and it blows up. And by chance something happens, or you write a song, and you're walking down the street and humming it, and somebody by accident hears it, and they gets into a commercial or into a film or something else. But unless you get lucky, you need a lot of luck in this life also. It just doesn't happen organically through hard work.
Well, how about right now? We have an issue with women. We have an issue with black people. Both are becoming very well fed. It was not the case before. black artists were covered by white artists when we were around back in the early days, and then finally they've come of age, you know. And there's a culture now. There's a culture change. You can't see a commercial without a black and a white or a black person hosting a show anymore. They've come up to the place where perhaps they should have been a long time ago, but without a judgment.
Yes,
it's the mainstream.
But the music business was never like that, because the music business came from black music early on, from rhythm and blues. Pop music came out of R&B. And out of blues music, way back in the 50s and 60s, with artists like Thurston Harris, Do What You Did, and Sam and Dave in the 60s, and a bunch of these others. So it may be that with TV and commercials, but we never had that real issue in the music business, because when I went to the first Alan Freed rock and roll show, which is what really inspired me to want to be in this business, I would say half the acts on the bill were African American acts, with people of color.
We didn't call them African American.
They were people of color.
You know, I used to go. You were with Alan Freed, who was in New York, and I was with the Hound Dog, who was in Buffalo. He was the Hound Dog in Buffalo, and Alan Freed was the Moon Dog in Cleveland. They both started at the same time, and each of them were people who took the black artists and popularized them. Now, I used to go to see James Brown and Otis Redding. I didn't go to see Pat Boone doing a black song,
right?
You know, doing a Little Richard song like Tutti Frutti, which is what he did at one time, I think. But you know, it's a pure energy now.
True.
Why do we call it African American?
Well, it's changed over the years. Truthfully, it all started. The reason why Alan Freed coined the term rock and roll. It was race music, right, originally.
That's almost insulting, race music.
I know, but Alan Freed called it rock and roll, and did the first rock and roll show. And as a result of that, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland, where he was from, even though he made his mark in New York City. But it evolved over the years, you know, as from black music to African American people to people of color
and hip hop,
and it'll continue to do whatever it's going to do. But I come from the school where there's no such thing as favorites or lack of favorites. Everyone is equal in my eyes.
Yeah, but there's a cultural change. I mean,
there is a cultural change.
Like there's a women market right now. Yes. There was never one in Nashville. There are like 3 artists, and now all of a sudden you've got a plethora of them.
But
I'm addressing the culture, because I think that radio and television, which I'm the media guy, reflects the public. And I think the music used to sing about things that we could make change with, like.
Well, in the 60s, yes, like Eve of Destruction, like Bob Dylan.
We didn't like the war, we didn't like certain things that were happening, and we also wanted...
music changed because the people changed, the culture changed, and we live, unfortunately, in a darker world nowadays.
Yes, and people are mad all the time, it seems, often, more often than usual, than what I grew up in, and they complain about everything, and everybody's trying to fall with each other.
Well, I live in hopes, and I come from the school that we all got to take care of our own, our own self. If to our own self to be true.
That's the Shakespeare. But I also believe to our own family first.
Right.
And we're a family country. I think there's a difference in our society now with families than there is reflected on the news on television, for instance. But that's my media stuff.
Well,
we used to sing things.
Yeah.
We would sing about what we thought and felt.
Well, people are still singing. It's just that, as we got older, the younger people are doing the singing. We're not doing the singing.
Are they doing melody?
Yes, they are.
Yeah?
Yes, they are. It's just because older folk don't necessarily buy in. We tend to buy into the things that we grew up with, not the things that are currently happening. And that will be with this generation 35, 40 years from now. So I believe that, as we get older, our lives change, and our likes and dislikes change, and music becomes a little less important than it did when we were 20.
Well, it used to be the soundtrack of your life. We called it that.
Back then. When you're 20 years old, it's the soundtrack of your life. When you're 20, 30, and 40. When you're 50, 60, and 70, you're thinking about your retirement. You're thinking about, what comes next. When jobs change, this changes, that changes, because in every generation something's changing. And I sincerely believe that Yes, I went to a concert last night. It was an older audience. Why?
Little Stevie.
Yeah, Little Stephen. Stephen and the Disciples of Soul.
Oh.
But why? Because the people grew up with what he was doing and with him. And
that's Bruce Springsteen.
Yes, we tend to gravitate to that which we grew up with. And that's and the reason why we don't have a lot of adults into contemporary music today, I believe, is because people are not appealing to that demographic, musically. It's different.
Well, look at what
They're
happened.
appealing to their own.
Bruce Springsteen, you went to see him on Broadway.
Yes.
Now he's got a film with a soundtrack
Yes.
on it of his California Love.
Western Stars.
Yeah. And then and he came on from Freehold, which he went to school with my ex-wife, as you probably know.
He's one of my all-time favorites, Bruce Springsteen.
Well, he's great. He's great, but I think somewhere along the line he decided to not work on tour anymore.
No, I don't know if that's true. He's not touring for this album, so he made the movie to represent this album.
Well, do you tour when you have an album?
Yes.
Why?
Why?
Is it like a book thing?
Yes, to sell the album.
Why don't you
in this
just
day and
tour?
age, to stream the album.
Well, the honky tonk guys, the Rolling Stones tour no matter what. They don't.
Well, years ago, people used to put the album out to support the tour.
Yeah.
Now they tour to support the album. It's different. It's done a 180.
And there's no music on the radio.
Well, I don't know what's on the radio because I don't listen to the radio. But that's me. There are lots of people that still do. I don't believe they're all gone because I've turned on radios in cars. Plenty of music comes out of them, and it's not all on Sirius XM.
But Sirius XM I don't consider to be radio anyway. I consider that to be a subscription service. That's not radio. But radio is broadcasting. It's over the air and it's available to everybody. This is not available to everybody.
Well, there still is lots of radio that's over the air that's available to everybody.
That's right, there is. And you're the head of the MMF.
Yes.
Which is what?
The music managers for
And what did you do? You went before the Congress?
What I did years ago in the 90s, in 1993, I saw this generation of music and things changing. I saw the landscape changing, and I saw the digital component coming in, and I went to Congress and testified on behalf of the Digital Performance Right Act and sound recordings of 1995. Because there was going to be a whole new pot of gold that was going to be developed and that was going to come on board. And I wanted to see artists and managers and creators benefit from it, and not just the corporations.
Well, artists used to get money from record companies when they signed a deal with them. And the record companies found a way to have hidden expenses. Like paying for the album is not a hidden expense. But the tour and the artwork.
Well, that's not hidden expenses either.
What do you call it?
I call it recoupable advances.
Yeah,
it's not hidden.
I love that word.
I call it recoupable advances. It's money they're giving you to make a video or to do a tour. This is money that nowadays, if you were a do-it-yourself artist, you'd have to spend on your own, or find somebody to fund you. You'd have to have a rich father or an investor or something, or a rich mother.
Startup guys.
Yeah. So I mean. I don't knock the record companies because nobody, I don't know of any superstar short of Chance the Rapper or maybe one or two others that made it off the internet. The record companies, the major labels have still developed all the big acts.
But we only have 3 of them left.
Well, we have 3 of them left, but they each have 14 divisions.
Yeah.
They still, you may only have...
well, you should say Sony, Warner Brothers, and Universal. Now, do you see where NBC is changing their name?
No, but you still have Capitol Records, you still have RCA.
Capitol is owned by an English
yes, but
company.
they're all owned by one of these 3.
But they keep the brand name, but it's not the same.
Well, they all have their own staffs, but it's going through a lot of the same distribution.
I was thinking,
and they have dual marketing now. The record companies are all doing services, and I think the most important thing for the future is the management companies, because the management companies are going to be like the labels of the future. Because the management companies are going to be the ones that are going to do the marketing, the promotion, the sales, whatever they're going to be selling, whether it be merchandise or vinyl that's coming back, to a small degree, and or whatever else is left out there. But I think that it's the managers are the future. So
this is not a digital wall.
No, that's not a digital wall. The digital wall, all I have to do is show you my phone or
That's
a computer, and you have a digital wall.
A click. You're a click away from 4 million songs.
Yes, you're.
I love the idea that we're doing things ourselves. I think that's great, to be in charge.
Yes.
And I think that's good. I love variety, menus, big menus, lots of service. Sometimes the menus in music are the same as Denny's. It looks better in the photo, and then the food comes and it don't look the same,
Well, that's true.
But I think some of the presentation that's being done on the radio and television, which is historically the presentation of where we got our music, it lacks. I think it lacks. I think we need to do something different.
That's taste and personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, what do you think we could do to change it? How about developing?
I'm not looking to change it.
Well, I am.
Well, you change it. I'll do what I do.
What are you looking to do? You have a seminar. You're going to teach people.
My seminar is about how to market, how to monetize the music that you make. I focus on music publishing, management, marketing, and promotion. I don't focus on changing the industry.
What if I got you some disc jockeys again, a team of them who went on the air like I did when you came to me, and they start to have their own personality and play their own music? What if we did that?
Well,
would you like
when
that?
It happens, let me know.
Well, yeah, but that's. I mean, you started with that. And
but I started with a lot of things. I started wearing diapers when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, now you're wearing Pampers again.
Now I don't wear diapers.
You got the
Come on, life changes as you get older. I'm not looking for things to stay the same. I like the excitement of change. And I think, if people really want to learn about this business, they should come to my seminar. And I'm going to put a plug in. They should go to barrybergman.com. And it's only $180. And I try to give them 3 to 5
hours. To go to your
site? To go to my seminar.
Oh. I thought click on you, boy. You can go click yourself.
Yeah.
No, your seminars are very good. And I know people have come back again. They want more.
Yes. I also do personal consultations as a result of it. I manage one act, to Morris Lane. I'm very excited about him. He's a young man of color. He sings and speaks in 5 different languages. He's very unique, and he's not only unique, he's great. And that's what I see in him, and I'm hoping to be able to get him off the ground. We're working on it.
Well, you and I have such a difference of opinion, but
yes,
we really are. We agree on a lot of things, but we have a difference of approach, I think.
Well, it's because we came out of different ends of this business.
Yeah.
You want to reconstruct what you used to know when you were in radio. I want to do something different.
No, so do I. No, that's not true. I'm not trying to. I'm not going back. I don't believe anybody goes back. I mean, otherwise, come on.
Yes, but you want the personality that existed 50 years ago, 40 years ago.
I think there's an interruption.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. That personality is over.
Right. That's what. You know why? Because of corporate takeover.
Well,
it's a business of business. It used to be a business of show.
Well, if you want to get your music on the radio, which still sells something or creates some interest in
There's
something.
only 2 places on the radio.
Well, wherever they are.
Country music and gospel, or religious.
Well, no,
music.
there's pop music out there.
But where?
There's top 40 music out there. Well, you can say that's your opinion, and taste can be the destruction of art.
Well, but art can be the destruction of taste too. Works 2 ways. Art seeks life, and life is imitating art. I mean, we could do this all day. But you know what happened with Taylor Swift?
What?
Where is she?
What do you mean, where is she? She's very alive and kicking.
I know.
She didn't disappear.
I didn't say she disappeared.
No, she's one of the biggest. She's probably the biggest act in the business right now.
That means that there's nobody any bigger.
Well, no, there are others, but you have.
Is
all
she
different,
the best there is?
This is not about every. I don't look at it in that light.
Well, you do with baseball. No, you got to find the best in the business.
No, well, this is not baseball. This is different, and I don't think it's fair to that's taste again. Because what you don't like, 2 million other people do. and what I don't like, millions of other people do. So it's not fair to say this is not quality. This is not. Yes, there is higher quality.
I didn't say it wasn't quality.
No, there is higher quality music, or there is stuff that's that you may deem good or not good.
No, that's not what I said, though.
Well,
I said,
tell me what you said.
Is she the best?
Is she the best?
Yeah, you mentioned it.
She's one of them.
Ah, now we got down.
She's one of them.
One of them is right.
Yeah. Because there's people that have asked me over the years, Barry, you've managed a lot of great acts over the years. Who is your favorite? And I don't have a favorite, because they're all equal in my eyes. They're all equal. It's like it's like being a parent. You shouldn't have a favorite. If you have 3 kids, you shouldn't be saying to 2 of them, why can't you be like your brother, or why can't you be like your sister? There should be no favorites. So I don't have a favorite. I love them all equally. And I did what I was able to do with all of them, individually.
I could tell you don't have kids. I got a favorite. The one that's like me. No, we're great friends, and I
Yes.
could talk to you this way. We do this all the time. We should tell everybody that.
Absolutely.
And
we only go back, I don't know, almost 60 years.
Yeah, you know what? This is pretty amazing.
Years,
this is the week that you turn your clock back,
yes.
But not 58 years.
No,
that's too
true.
far back.
An hour is enough.
What do you think? I want to see Chubby Checker, and I want to start playing his records. You don't think that, do you?
I'd rather see Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I love him. I think he's great.
Oh, okay.
But I like Capital FM.
I think he's perfect.
Well, I don't think he's perfect, because there's nothing.
Well, I love his song "Perfect."
Okay,
I
like the idea of Capital FM though.
Well, that's
I listen
fine.
to that. Do you ever listen to it?
No, I haven't.
You familiar with it?
I've only gone to the Capitol Steakhouse.
No, we got to give you some. We got to give you
FM.
some homework. Go to Capital FM. You'll see the video and the music. I'm a multi-level guy. I like the radio, television, internet. Now, when I was doing the digital performance show from the NASDAQ window in Times Square, and you know that about 5-6 years ago, everybody
Yes.
laughed at me because we were on NBC's digital channel. Now I see NBC is changing the name.
But somebody was tickling them at the time.
That's right.
So they were laughing.
They're changing the name to Universal Media. They're not even going to call it NBC anymore.
All right, whatever. Everything changes in time.
Changes,
Everything.
Right. When are we going to change?
When are we going to change? We've been changing. We're changing daily.
I think it's been fun being with you again.
Yes.
Let's eat.
Let's eat.
So Barry Bergman, who's a wonderful friend and also a great manager, and the seminars that he has are excellent. I like to pick on him because he's my longtime friend, and we have a little. I know his sore spots, and he knows mine. So we got to kind of like dance with each other a little bit. But for those who are just seeing us for the first time with this, we talk like this.
Yes, we do.
And it's a way to grow, I think.
Absolutely.
Or at least to stay alive.
And we're allowed to disagree with one another.
I'm getting over that.
And my website once again is Barry Bergman, BarryBergman.com.
Okay. And you can go to me if you want to follow me on Joey Reynolds, the late Joey Reynolds, on Facebook page, and also on YouTube. All right.
Great.
So we're both in see the siren out there?
Yes.
They're coming to get me now.
What is that? They're coming to take me away.
Napoleon the 14th.
Napoleon the 14th.
Let a smile be your umbrella, but don't get a mouthful of rain. It's a Reynolds rap.